Every single time you see a really good Hearthstone card, often you think to yourself, will it get nerfed? But some of these really good cards don't actually get nerfed. So that's what this video is. Cards that are extremely good that I'm really surprised they didn't get nerfed. Starting off with one that was introduced in Darkmoon Pharah is a Druid card that has seen a ton of play in almost every token-based version of it. Arbor Up is a 5-mana Druid spell, summon 2/2/2 Treants, give your minions +2/+1. Now for 5 mana, this card is absolutely insane, but it's even better paired with a card like Solar Eclipse or even just lightning blooming out this effect, because on an empty board, this card is just good on its own. Now, the only reason I think it doesn't get nerfed is because they wanted a finisher in standard to replace Savage Roar, and this is where this comes in. But my god, this card is really strong. At the start of Ashes of Outland, we saw one of the best Druid cards that has ever been released with Overgrowth, a 4-mana spell, gain 2 empty mana crystals. Considering that Wild Growth was nerfed from 2 mana to 3 mana and it only gave you 1 empty mana crystals, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense for 1 mana more that you get 2. My brain can't understand that, but I am very surprised this card did not end up getting nerfed, especially because it was used so widely in standard. Since the beginning of Classic, we have seen a couple of secrets been used throughout the game's history. Ice Barrier is a really good example of this, but no better secret than Iceblock. Iceblock was a 3-mana mage secret. Whenever your hero takes fatal damage, prevent it and become immune this turn. This effect is so good that it's still being used in Wild to this day, and I think the only reason this card hasn't gotten nerfed is because you can't really change the mana cost on a secret. See, the problem is if you change a mana cost on a secret, then that secret's going to be the only secret with that mana cost, so if someone's paying enough attention, they will just know it's immediately Iceblock. I'm also going to throw Oh My Yogg in here as well for the same reason, because this card is insanely powerful, being a counterspell and super disruptive at the same time. But again, you can't really nerf the card, because if you put it to 2 mana, that means that we'll just know it's always Oh My Yogg, and if you change the effect, you're basically changing the card entirely. But I am still surprised that both of these cards were not nerfed in some way. With Descended Dragon, we got a really fun adventure, but on top of that, we got arguably one of the best warrior cards ever released. And that card was Risky Skipper, a 1-mana 1/3 warrior pirate. After you play a minion, deal 1 damage to all minions. Now, this card didn't actually end up seeing play until around Demon Hunter's release to counter the Tempo Demon Hunter deck, but this card continually saw play afterwards because people realized how strong this effect actually is. This card paired with Bloodsworn Mercenary, Armorsmith, Bloodboil Brute, and Battle Rage were extremely powerful, and I am very surprised they didn't end up nerfing the card. Back in Knights of the Frozen Throne, we saw the newly introduced hero cards, and one of those hero cards was extremely powerful that I am actually blown away it didn't get nerfed. Blood Reaver Guldan was 10 mana, and the battle cry was to summon all friendly demons that died this game. And not only was that effect really strong, it had a really good hero power, Siphon Life, which had lifesteal and it did 3 damage. So not only could you summon some of the best demons we've ever seen for Warlock, you had a really good hero power that could sustain you while doing damage. This card saw continuous play and still sees play in Wild to this day. This card was arguably the strongest Death Knight we saw from Knights of the Frozen Throne, and I'm just pretty surprised it didn't end up getting nerfed. In Scholomance Academy, we were first introduced to the dual class cards, and one of these dual class cards was absolutely bonkers. Lord Bardoff was a 3-mana 3/2 warrior and paladin minion. Battlecry set the health of all other minions to 1, death rattle, deal 1 damage to all other minions. To give you some kind of context on how good this card is, equality right now is 3 mana. Just let that kind of sink in. But not only is this card a 3/2 with equality, it also has Whirlwind on the death rattle, which means that clearing a board is so easy, especially with a card like Broomstick. Especially in Warrior with so many other tools to proc this, I'm very surprised a card like this did not get nerfed, but I'm guessing it's because control wasn't super great after Scholomance Academy. With the release of Savers of Uldum, we saw Highlander cards reintroduced into the game, with Zephyrus the Great being one of them. Zephyrus was a 2-mana 3/2 value, neutral, legendary, battle cry. If your deck has no duplicates, wish for the perfect card. Now, considering this card solely made classes without another Highlander card play Highlander, I'm looking at you, Rogue, and was the sole reason why a lot of decks would play Highlander decks even if they did have a Highlander card, because of how strong this effect actually was. Now, I'm thinking the only reason this card wasn't nerfed is because if you change the mana to 3, then they have to recode all of the scenarios for that, and that just sounds awful. Remember when we talked about Iceblock earlier? Well, there's another card that's been in the game since Classic that is still terrorizing the game till this day. And that card is Shadowstep, a 0 mana rogue spell. Return a friendly minion to your hand. It costs 2 less. This card actually might be the top contender for the most played card in multiple decks in the history of Hearthstone. Almost every single rogue deck wants this because it can give you value, it can give you tempo, it can give you combo potential. This card basically does everything for 0 mana. And the nerf seems pretty easy. Make it 1 mana, or make it so that when you return a minion to your hand, it doesn't offer as much of a discount or any discount at all. The fact that this card hasn't been nerfed is actually beyond me. Did you know that Kobolds and Catacombs was an extremely good set because it printed one of the best 1-drops in the game, if not the best one? Kobold Librarian is a 1 mana 2/1 Warlock minion. Battlecry, draw a card, deal 2 damage to your hero. So for 1 mana, you're getting a 2/1 stat line, which is pretty decent for a 1-drop, but you're also getting a free life tap with it. This is a really good card that sees play in basically every Warlock deck in Wild. That probably tells you how good this card actually is. Did I mention that Warlock had another really good card from Skullman's Academy that did not get nerfed? And if you thought Lord Bardoff was the best dual class card, well, oh my god, this card's nuts. Raise Dead is a 0 mana priest Warlock card. Deal 3 damage to your hero, return 2 friendly minions that died this game to your hand. Now, this card is really good in a zoo type deck. It's really good in the Quest Warlock type deck. It's basically good in every single Warlock deck because the effect is really good. And it's all for 0 mana, dear god. And I haven't even mentioned how good it is in Priest, but it doesn't matter because it's so good in Warlock, it's ridiculous. One card I am very surprised that didn't end up getting a nerf is everybody's favorite card from the Boomsday project, Ziliax. I know a lot of people think that this card is absolutely perfection, but the problem with this card is that it was so good for what it did that it was virtually ran in almost every single deck that was not aggressive because, well, it was such a powerful effect. I don't think that Ziliax is broken, but I do think that they should have nerfed it a little bit just because it would have opened some space for other cards to actually see some play. But for real, I was saving the card that I'm most surprised did not get nerfed, and that is Boulder Fist Ogre. For 6 mana, you get 6-7 worth of stats. That's just, come on, that's just too good. It just makes total sense why Boulder Fist Ogre didn't make it into the core set for 2021 and Shadowstep did. The card is just too powerful to have, and I understand why they had to rotate it. But that's gonna be it for me in this video. I hope you ended up enjoying it, and if you did, I would really appreciate a like and a subscription. You look fantastic, and I'll see you in the next one.